Come and put your hand into my side. Bring your fingers and put them in the nail prints. Come and put your hand into my side. In our gospel, Jesus gives an invitation to Thomas the doubter. But it's not just an invitation to believe in the resurrection. It's not just an invitation to believe that he's been resurrected. It's much, much more than that. Put your hand into my side. That's an invitation to believe that Jesus has not only been resurrected, but he's the wounded one who still has his wounds, but the wounds have been healed. Jesus is the resurrected one who still has his wounds. Jesus is the resurrected one who is wounded, but who has been transformed and has been healed, but he still has the wounds. That's very, very different. Thomas is invited to believe in Jesus in that way, as the resurrected one whose wounds have been transformed, but they're still there. And so on Easter, last week on Easter, we talked about how Jesus is redeeming. When Jesus is raised from the dead, he not only is redeemed, he's redeemed all of humanity. He is turning all of our crucifixions into resurrections. But as I tried to make very clear on Easter, being redeemed is not the same thing as being fixed. God doesn't fix us, which is like getting a replaceable part for what is broken and hurt and wounded in us and plugging in a replaceable heart so that it's exactly like it was before. So we're 100% as if nothing had happened. That would be fixing us. Jesus is not fixed. Jesus still has his wounds, but the wounds have now been healed and transformed. And so what Jesus does for Thomas by saying, put your hand in my side, it's an invitation to believe in the resurrected one who is now healed and transformed. And that's because that's what Jesus promises us in the redemption, in the resurrection. Jesus promises to turn our crucifixions into resurrections. But we're not going to get fixed. We'll still have a wound. We'll still have our wounds. But now those wounds will shine with the light of something that is transformed and has been turned by the almighty power of God, turned slowly, year after year, decade after decade, until the evil has been turned into good, that great good comes out of, because our wounds have been transformed and healed. But we will not be fixed. That's not fixing. Fixing is 100% new, like it never happened. Well, that's not what Jesus promises us. What Jesus promises is we'll have our wounds, but he will transform them. So redemption is always about trouble, what we call redemption, that great religious word that means turning evil into good. It's always about trouble. And so it's no small matter in our spiritual lives as we're trying to live in the faith of the resurrection, to understand and be clear about what is trouble and what kind of trouble does the resurrection redeem us from? What kind of trouble is the redemption all about? So there are all kinds of people with theories about trouble. We are all trying to stay out of trouble, and we all have our own kind of feeling about what trouble is. Some people are really big on the fact that trouble is breaking the rules. I'm telling you, we could just get rid of a whole lot of problems around here if people would just keep the rules. Let's just make them clear. Let's just get people to sign up. Let's twist their arms. Let's punish them. If they just keep the rules, we wouldn't have any trouble. But of course, part of the problem is there's a whole other group of people who think just exactly the opposite. They think, the whole trouble around here is that things are just too tight. We need to loosen up the rules. We need to give people more freedom, and people need to have the possibility of responding spontaneously to the thing that happens. So the whole problem is that we're just too tight, and the other people are saying, no, we're just too loose. Well, two different kinds of trouble. And there are people who say, you know, the real trouble in the world today is that people just don't put their total trust in God. They need to just totally surrender themselves to God and to one another, and we would solve all the troubles in the world. And then there's, of course, another group of people who say, are you kidding me? No, the real trouble is that we need to require more of God, and we need to be way more suspicious of people, because you can't trust people. And I'm not even sure we can trust God. I love God, but I've never really trusted God. And so, you know, we need to, and so then there's a whole other group of people who say, no, those aren't the real trouble. The real trouble is that something happened to me terrible when I was young. I was abused, I was hurt, I didn't like my parents were not good to me. Something awful happened to me when I was young, and it has shaped my life and doomed it to trouble ever since then. That's trouble. So people have all kinds of different definitions of what trouble is. And the truth is, all of those are trouble. There's no doubt about it. All of those are trouble at different times of our life, and some of them are awful troubles. But none of those are real trouble. None of those are real trouble. And Jesus shows us what real trouble is, and what the kind of trouble that the redemption will save us from. And what the redemption saves us from is real trouble. And Jesus makes it clear that real trouble is the hardness of our hearts. Real trouble. If we want real trouble, just live a life in which we keep losing our taste for God and losing our taste for the people of God, and that we keep turning away from the drive of the Holy Spirit inside of us to move towards goodness and truth, and just keep hardening that heart until it gets cold, then we have real trouble. We might have all kinds of other trouble, but that's real trouble. And real trouble, Jesus makes it clear by pouring the Holy Spirit into people's hearts in the gospel. And the Holy Spirit is the drive inside of us to learn more, to do better, to love more widely and deeply. The Holy Spirit is that drive inside of us. And so real trouble is the hoarding our life and the refusal to share the energies of our life. You can't get worse trouble than that. Because life comes from the sharing and the back and forth of the energies of lives. This wood of this pew, it's dead because there's no sharing of energy. There's no back and forth of the energies of the lives. That's where the only place where life is the back and forth and the give and take of the energies of our hearts. One heart sharing and back and forth with another heart. One mind sharing the energies of our minds back and forth with the minds of another mind. The energies of our bodies being shared back and forth to be working and caring and loving with other people back and forth. The energies of our spirits that we share with the energies of another spirit, and we have the back and forth and the give and take. That's where life happens. So real trouble is the refusal of the back and forth and the give and take of the energies of our lives with others. Real trouble. The realest trouble there is the hoarding, is that I will hoard the energies of my life and I will not share them with others. If we want real trouble, then all we have to do is say, you know, I didn't ask for this life. I didn't ask for the family I was raised in. I didn't ask for this culture and the country that's a mixture of sense and nonsense. I didn't ask for that. And so I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm not going to life. I will wait till life comes to me on my terms. I will wait for life to come to me on my terms. And when life comes to me, here's real trouble. This is the realest trouble in the world. I will always take more than I give. I will make sure that when life comes to me on my own terms, I will give a little bit and I will take as much as I can. Now that is real trouble. You can't get worse trouble than that. That is the trouble that Jesus saves us from. Real trouble is saying, I will more and more hoard my life's energies to me, and my life, my problems will get bigger and bigger and bigger, and my answers will get smaller and smaller and smaller. That's real trouble. So Jesus, in our gospel, challenges the doubting Thomas to believe in the resurrection, the resurrected one who still has his wounds, but whose wounds are healed. And so therefore we are saved from the fear of death, the fear that I will lose myself and I will die if I was to give myself to love, because the first step of love is always to step outside yourself, is to go beyond yourself towards something and someone else. And so Jesus saves us from that. That's the real trouble that Jesus saves us from. We can have all the other kind of trouble in the world, but if we don't have real trouble, Jesus can heal and transform the troubles of our lives. Not fix them so it's like they never happened, but to transform them until there are wounds. We still have the wounds, but there is light and glory that shines from the wounds because the wounds have been healed and transformed by the mercy and the grace and the power of God. That's what we believe about the resurrection. That's one of the things we believe about the resurrection. And so Thomas is called the twin, Didymus, which means the twin. And the reason he's called the twin is because we're his twin. You're his twin, and you're his twin, and you're his twin, and I'm his twin. We're all Thomas's twin. We're all like him. And what Jesus is saying to all of us, as well as Thomas, you come and put your hand in my wound, and you see that I'm healed and transformed, but I still have my wounds. That will be true of you too. But I can transform your wounds. The resurrection power that raised me from the dead can transform your wounds, can heal your wounds, can turn the evil of your life into good that comes out of it. And so let's come to this altar then and to this table of the Lord, and let's receive the invitation, the same invitation that doubting Thomas received. To believe in Jesus, the one who was resurrected, but who still has his wounds. Because they save us from death. They save us from the fear of death. What will be the most important thing in our lives when we are lying in a bed and we're about ready to take our last breath? I can tell you what will be the most important thing. It won't be who's around the bed, although that would be nice. It won't be how much money we have in the bank, and it won't be what's in our obituary the next day. The most important thing will be, how deeply did I share the energies of my life with the energies of others in the time that I had? That's all that's going to matter. How deep did I go? How deeply did I share the energies of my mind with the minds of others, with the energies of my heart with the hearts of others in the time that I was given? That's all that will matter. So let's come to this table with the invitation to believe in Jesus Christ as the one who was crucified, but who was also still wounded, but whose wounds are healed, and who is the one who can do that for us.